Smashing those protein goals can be hard, but one way I start my day is with a high-protein breakfast featuring Jones Dairy Farm's chicken sausage. Jones Dairy Farm makes premium crafted meat products such as all-natural breakfast sausage, available in pork, chicken and turkey, and center-cut Canadian bacon. 100% of their products are made in the USA with materials sourced primarily from the Midwest. Jones Dairy Farm products are available at most grocery stores, including Costco, and you can find them in a store near you at jonesdairyfarm.com. Today on CityCast Houston, this weekend, Queen Bee Beyoncé will be taking over NRG Stadium for her Cowboy Carter tour. So I wanted to play back one of my favorite interviews from this year with Dr. Alicia Odewale on how Cowboy Carter helped shine light on the often forgotten Black cowboy culture in our city and state. It's Thursday, June 26th. I'm Rahil Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Dr. Odewale, I know you've listened to Cowboy Carter so many times, like so many Houstonians, but in that album, what does Beyoncé get right about Black cowboy culture, and is there anything that she gets wrong?
That's a good question. I can say that listening to the album, it sounds like she's really captured the spirit of Black cowboys and what it means to be a Black cowboy, both as a man or a woman, and as someone who might be free or enslaved. There's a lot of different contexts to what it means to be a cowboy.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into that because it is such an important history to know about. And your class, by the way, it's at U of H. It's called Before Cowboy Carter, Black Towns, Black Freedom. And it's such an interesting title because it seems like ever since Beyoncé released her country album, it's just catapulted Black cowboys into the public light and really the whole culture. Why was it important for you to take a step back and look at the history before the album?
When I came to the University of Houston, I really wanted to teach a class on Black towns. So I was always planning on teaching Black towns. But then when Beyoncé dropped this wonderful album, this was an opportunity for us to dive in deeper into this history. But also I was getting increasingly frustrated with the idea that Black cowboy culture was somehow new or that Black country music was something that was new. But this has been around for generations.
It has. And the history of the Black cowboy in Texas runs deep, as you mentioned. And look, I'll be honest, like most Houstonians, I wasn't aware of it, right? And, it kind of makes us feel like, hey, wait, why is Beyoncé doing this? Why did she transition into country music? Like, is she just doing this to get, album sales, clicks, right? But that wasn't it. There's actually a deep history. What is that history of Black cowboys in Texas?
Well, across the country and in Texas, we have people who are starting off enslaved. So the first cowboys are enslaved Black people, specifically Black men. And they're called cowboys because this was actually a derogatory term ascribed to men who are doing the labor of herding, wrangling, and dealing with horses and cattle. So there'll be like a house boy, a cowboy, a horse boy. So there's all these like different types of people who are doing enslaved labor on a ranch or a plantation space. But out in the West, we're mainly dealing with ranches. So these are people who are starting off, they are enslaved. And so thinking about what does it mean to be enslaved, but on a horse and traveling thousands of miles on these trails across the country.
Wow.
What does that even look like?
That is such a tough thing to hear, right? Because we celebrate that word cowboy now, and it's become a part of our culture. It's become part of our lexicon. When did that change? Where it went from a derogatory term, or is it still considered derogatory?
So traditionally, when you first start to see cowboys on film, they are all white. So the idea of taking this term and it becoming something that represents only white men, an only white entity, is something that happened as soon as they start to film and create films and movie stars around cowboy culture. So there's kind of like this taking of the name, but also the whitewashing of this name that happens early on in, say, early 1900s, whenever they start actually filming. But it also connects to a lot of live performances such as minstrelsy, where
Hmm.
you have a lot of people in blackface pretending to be black cowboys. The first time we see James Beckworth, who was a black cowboy on film, he's portrayed by a white actor. That is something that is becomes the norm. So we
Oh,
start to
wow.
see the first images that people see of cowboys are white, and that becomes the thing that people gravitate to the most.
What was the treatment of cowboys like, especially black cowboys, as they are on the Western Front?
So, picture people who are in the saddle 12 to 16 hours a day, and they are riding and making about either $1.50 a week up to, if you can make it up to trail boss, about $30 a week.
Oh, wow.
Nat Love, famous black cowboy, he writes in his 1907 autobiography about becoming a trail boss and what that means. And the pay bump that he gets to $30 was huge.
Mm.
But they're riding in all types of weather conditions: blizzards, storms, dust, everything, you name it. But they're also facing snakes, scorpions, bears, wolves, coyotes. All the wilderness is there. They're also battling for a piece of freedom and land alongside other indigenous peoples whose lands have been taken from them. So it's all out war out here on the frontier.
Wow.
Being a cowboy means you have to protect yourself and your family at all costs. I think a lot of my students get confused about like why didn't they just run away? Why didn't they just take the horse and go? Why don't we have more black cowboys escaping slavery? But you have to think about their families, their wives, their children, their parents, and people, their enslavers threatening to kill their family members if they ran away. So they will travel thousands of miles. I think the first
Mhm.
trail rides are coming from Texas all the way to San Francisco. So think about how far that is to drive. Now imagine doing that on a horse.
Oh my gosh. How long would that take?
That would take a good month to
Wow.
actually herd cattle from Texas to San Francisco. And the reason they're doing that is because they can get about 10 to 20 times the amount, the price for the cattle in California with the gold rush than they would have gotten in Texas.
Wow. That is so fascinating. Through all this hardship, hard work, this beautiful culture came about, right? And it kind of shaped and influenced what we know and call current day rodeo. Tell me about that.
When you talk to Demetrius Pearson, who's been writing about this for decades, he talks about these cowboys as our first black athletes,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to the rodeo. And when it comes to the rodeo, they're often the ones when they first start to be part of these integrated rodeos. They're not allowed to ride at the same time as everyone else, so they're the ones performing where the rodeo ends, or when the rodeo hasn't started yet. They're not scored fairly. They're not given prizes for their immense talent, and they're not recognized.
I'm glad you brought up Dr. Pearson. He teaches at the University of Houston as well. And he actually talked to us in a previous interview about this. And here's what he had to say.
Willie Thomas, he's a major player. He's told me about from time to time he had to sleep on a park bench until the rodeo started. He would walk over to the rodeo pen, climb over the fence, and sleep on the benches until the rodeo started. As a matter of fact, he had to ask a white fella to go in and get his winnings. That's how tough it was for some of these early black rodeo cowboys.
So you have a lot of just people flying under the radar that are the most skilled ropers, riders. I mean, Bill Pickett inventing the whole bulldogging technique. I mean,
Yeah.
these cowboys have been on the front end of what it means to be athletes, to be hardworking, to have the most immense talent, but get the least recognition for it.
What's that timeline like? When did the black cowboys go from enslaved to being free cowboys and participating in these tournaments?
So it kind of happens in multiple ways. So you have enslaved cowboys are really around like 1840s, but black people are in the West before that.
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of this history is happening in this transition from enslavement from 1800 to 1865. And then you have freedom that comes with the Emancipation Proclamation 1865. But there's so many different pathways to freedom that people are taking that it's hard to really trace exactly when things are starting. But they happen in parallel. So we have
Yeah.
these white rodeos that are taking place, and they're not allowing Black people to participate for a very long time. So we actually start our own rodeos. There are Black rodeos happening across the country and still are today. Bowley is the largest, Bowley, Oklahoma. I grew up going to the Cowboys of Color Invitational Rodeo every year in Okmulgee, Oklahoma, and we had a time.
Yeah.
And that's still a rodeo that happens today. But I just remember being part of this whole other culture where when you go to the rodeo, you have this experience where you can see your family. It's a family reunion. You can eat some wonderful food, listen to the music. Everybody's in their best
Oh,
outfit, and the
wow.
events. I mean, it's just an experience like no other, and it feels like another world where you can be your unapologetic Black country self
And celebrate it, sounds like.
and celebrate it. Yes.
Am I overselling it or like overhyping it? I know you have a course on Cowboy Carter, right? And it's brought so much to the mainstream,
Yes.
but has it like really revived the forgotten roots of the Black cowboy?
I think for me and my students, we're just excited to be able to talk about this because this history, I mean, we've been talking about
Hmm.
Black women in the West, Black cowboys, but also what does it mean to have outlaws and gunmen in the West, but also Black
Hmm.
law officers, Buffalo soldiers. There's so many aspects to this history of when we're talking about Black people in the West and all the jobs that they would have been doing. It's not just the cowboys that are out here. There are so many different types of people who are doing different jobs, men and women, and a lot of them are owning their own businesses. And like I said, building Black towns out of darkness,
Yeah.
thinking about what it means to venture out into the unknown, coming from the South and going all the way west. You don't know what you're going to find when you get there, but you are just going for the
Hmm.
chance to have that freedom. And you're building a town out of in the dark. It's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a miracle. And you just think about that, right? There's like limited communication at that point. You have literally have no idea outside of maybe like a couple of people who have told you like, hey, there's opportunities here.
It's mainly the newspapers. Black owned newspapers are circulating and advertising, and that's what
Wow.
people are depending on and holding on to.
Ready to escape the city this summer? Hit the road and head to Navasota, Texas, where you'll find authentic charm and bold experiences. Navasota's just outside of Houston, and they have live music on the rooftop, fantastic shopping, and of course, Texas flavors. Kick off your 4th of July at the Freedom Festival with food trucks, fireworks, and a live performance by the Texas Eagles Band. And if live music is your thing, you'll love the Sounds of Navasota concert series, featuring live music under the stars. The best part, these events are free. Navasota also has a historic downtown with one-of-a-kind shopping, and at their Sip and Shop events, you can stroll, sip, and support local businesses. And for my foodies, they have so many great restaurants and wineries. This isn't your average detour, it's a full-on experience. Make your summer road trip count. Plan your getaway today at visitnavasota.com. Follow the yellow brick road to the George Theater and let the adventure begin, because The Wizard of Oz the musical is playing live on stage at the George Theater from July 9th to August 10th. I can already hear myself singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow as I step into the land of Oz with Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion in this beloved classic. Here's the best part. They have sensory-friendly performances, closed caption performances, an all-ages performance on August 9th, and matinee and evening shows, as well as one double feature day where they'll screen the film. How cool is that? Do something special with your kids, friends, loved ones, or make it a solo date and check out The Wizard of Oz the musical at the George Theater. Tickets are going fast, so grab yours today at adplayers.org or call the box office at 713-526-2721. You mentioned Black women in the West, and we've talked about the Black Cowboys. What were the women doing in regards to shaping what
Oh,
we know as Black cowboy culture, right? Or cowgirl culture, the rodeo
yes,
industry? What was
yes.
their role like?
Oh, it depends on who you ask. So we've got some really bad women in the West.
Oh, yeah.
Stagecoach Mary is one that I love to talk about. So Pony Express and other people who are delivering mail across the country. She's doing this in a stagecoach. She's traveling thousands of miles, delivering mail in rain, sleet, or snow alongside these other trail riders. We have Clara Brown. She's known as the Angel of the Rockies, and I mean when she steps into this, gold mining, coal mining town, it's something to behold that you can start from nothing. And a lot of these women started as enslaved women as well, and they become millionaires.
Wow. That is incredible.
Oh my gosh. But I learned a lot of this history by going
Hmm.
to the Black Cowboy Museum in Rosenberg, Texas. Director Larry Callis is amazing, and he has so much history just
Yeah.
on the walls everywhere.
I'm glad you brought that up because there are several places to go check out and learn more about Black history and, of course, Black cowboy culture and history, right? And you actually, in
Yep.
your course with your students, y'all are taking these field trips to certain places. Now, if our listeners want to learn more about the important history, where should they go?
So we have been taking field trips. One, we did a whole Cowboy Carter hoedown with the students. So we learned some line dancing.
Hmm.
We just did our trip to the Black Cowboy Museum. And then we'll be going to Freedmanstown, another Black
Of
town
course.
right here in Houston, and then to the Buffalo Soldiers Museum in April. But there's so many other sites.
Yeah.
Actually, next door to the Black Cowboy Museum is the Black Cowboy Hall of Fame. So you can learn about Nat Love, Esom Dart, Jesse Stahl, all these
Wow.
people who have been known to be trick riders. I mean, Jesse Stahl, he would ride bull backwards. Like if you can
What?
imagine yes, just how hard it is to hold on to a bucking bull
Yeah.
forwards. Imagine doing it backwards.
That's the
But
confidence I want in my life right there. That's awesome. Man, that
yeah,
is so
it's
cool.
amazing. It's amazing. And even like Bill Pickett, who I mentioned, who invented the whole bulldogging technique,
Yeah.
he was known to be able to throw a steer with his teeth. That.
What? That's
Yes.
amazing. Let's talk about the music that came from cowboy culture, right? Of course, we're talking about Beyoncé and we've talked about her a few times, but tell me the music influences from Black cowboys onto what we know and call country music.
We have to go all the way back to when the first people are arriving in the United States as enslaved peoples, I mean, way back to 1619, where you have people that are coming in who recognize these melodies and these African instruments, but they're now pairing it with either English language or uh, the ways that we construct songs here in the United States. But there's so many different connections.
Hmm.
One of my favorite books on this subject is My Black Country, A Journey Through Country Music by Alice Randall. She is a musician in her own right. And so thinking about her book, but also the connections to the specific instruments that country music uses, such as the banjo. The banjo is definitely a West African instrument that was inspired by the akonting is a specific type of instrument, a
Oh,
gourd
wow.
instrument in West Africa, specifically in the Senegal, Gambia region, where you have a gourd stretched over with animal skin. And that is the inspiration that becomes the banjo. And even the longhorn themselves, the longhorn, that descends back to West Africa as well. And really the Sahel region, where you have herders, pastoralists who are herding cattle in Africa. And then they take these same skills to the West as enslaved peoples. But
Wow.
there's so many connections to the music. I mean, in Alice Randall's book, she takes it all the way back to Frederick Douglass. He has this poem called "We Raise the Wheat," and this is kind of considered to be one of the first poems connected to country music. But country music also has roots in minstrelsy, also has roots in Black performance, and really the theft of Black talent and Black performance.
Dr. Odewale, were there any connections to the history of country music and Beyonce's album?
I think one of the most cool things about Beyonce's album and the visuals around this album that we talked about in class is the use of the Limpizzaner horse. I mean, this style of horse, you see her on the white horse in like all the albums, all the visuals, but that's because this specific type of horse is born black.
What?
So there's a reason why she's using, yes, there's a reason why she's using that type of horse. It's born
Wow.
black, but then as it ages, it turns white.
That's amazing.
So the fact that she's taking country music and reclaiming its black roots, this is something that is a powerful visualization that is definitely recognition of every sort of origin story for Black country music that's blending gospel, that's blending the blues, that's blending all these
Wow.
different types of musical sounds into this blended storytelling that a lot of our Black cowboys are singing.
That's incredible.
And then people record their stories and record those songs.
That's amazing. One last thing on the album. What's your favorite song?
Oh, that's a good question. I think right now, Protector.
Oh,
But but I'm heavy listening to Jolene and Daughter on repeat because this week we're talking about Black women in the West in my class before Cowboy Carter.
I want to spend a little bit of time on your course, right? Because you link Black cowboy culture together with freedom. And you even had this very insightful quote in your story with our friend Monique Welch of the Houston Landing, where you said, quote, "My goal is by the end of this class, you all know a lot more about Black freedom than Juneteenth," end quote.
Yes,
Explain
yes.
that to me.
I think a lot of people in this country think Juneteenth is the beginning and ending of Black freedom, and that all Black people are freed after Juneteenth, and that's not true. There are people who are enslaved a whole year after Juneteenth happens, especially to indigenous tribes in Oklahoma, where I'm from.
Yeah.
So our Juneteenth is different than June 19th, 1865, because there are people still enslaved at that time in Oklahoma.
Mm.
And really, Black freedom is something that is celebrated at different points all over the world and all over, and even in this country. And we talk about all the different ways people are finding freedom for themselves in this class. Not just the Emancipation Proclamation. That's when a large number of people are freed, but that's not the end of the story.
That is so beautiful. You know, the other thing I was reflecting on when I was thinking about your class, and it's really extra special, right? Because it's coming on the heels as the state is banning DEI at
Yes.
Texas universities, right? Public universities. And if you had a chance, right, to bring some of these Texas lawmakers who passed this bill into your class or in front of your students or in front of us right now, what would you tell them to showcase the importance of a class like yours?
People are going to find their way no matter how we try to legislate it or ban it or take it away. People are going to find their way to this history. I think a lot of my students are just born activists, so they
Yeah.
know a lot more than I do in terms of where to find banned books and where to find all these other things that are kind of hidden away now. I think it's on a lot of us that have access to the history to share it. But I also think the idea of legislating or hiding history doesn't actually work very well.
Yeah, agreed. It's a tough thing. History
Yeah,
will always make its way to the forefront,
absolutely.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
might as well learn it, see how it impacts you, how it influences things around you, and see
Yeah,
how you can learn from it. We're always told that you learn from history, yet that's not
absolutely.
the case anymore, it seems like. Anything I forgot to ask you or you want our listeners to know about the Black cowboy culture here in Houston, in Texas?
Well, I don't know if this is a need to know thing, but I did want to call on one of my ancestors that I found in doing this work that I didn't know about before I started researching.
Tell me.
His name is John Ware, and he's a Black cowboy, but he rode all the way up to Alberta, Canada, and was part of
What?
a town up there. Yeah. So thinking about these trail riders, thinking about the people who are riding for thousands of miles in the cold, in the dark, one of my ancestors was doing that work.
Wow. That is beautiful. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Dr. Odewale, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for this incredible conversation, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you for having me.
That was Dr. Alicia Odewale. Since we did this episode, Dr. Odewale's class was dropped from UH's offerings, but get this, it was picked up by National Geographic as a master class, meaning anybody can take it across the world. So make sure to share this episode with 3 of your friends who love Queen Bee and might want to take this class. Before we go, I want to invite you to come hang out with us at St. Arnold Brewing on July 10th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. for our pre-713 day celebration. The entire team will be there, so join us as we talk about why we love Houston and to celebrate our city over some drinks. This event is free, but please RSVP with the info in our show notes. I'll see you there. Also, make sure to drop us a rating and review wherever you listen and subscribe to CityCast Houston if you haven't yet already. That will do it for today. I'm Rahil Ramzanali. Thank you for listening. Now go put on Cowboy Carter and get ready for that awesome show.